What's going on, FA Nation? Welcome to Fantasy DFS NBA live stream. John Impemba here with James Grande. James, 11 game slate today. It's Wednesday before, well, I guess technically tomorrow's a 3-gamer. Then it's the All-Star break, but we're nearing the end of the week to get to the NBA All-Star break. So pretty much everybody's playing today. TNT gets their Thursday night games tomorrow, but this is the big one. And you were on the Playbook today, so you're the man with all the information. You got the plan. What are we looking at?
We're looking at quite a bit of injuries that we're still waiting on, too. Jeremy Lin's going to make his debut tonight for Toronto, but the more notable Toronto is obviously Kawhi Leonard sitting. Al Horford, we just found out, will have his minutes managed. Whatever that means, they will be managed headed into the All-Star break, second game. They're just looking out for the tendonitis, I'm sure, but managed. Take that for what it's worth. We've heard limited before, and people play 40 minutes, so. That's your opinion. Cedi Osman, Ante Zizic, both playing tonight. Osman will be on a limit. They haven't come out and said if Zizic will. Andrew Wiggins, questionable. He did participate in shoot-around. So, wait for that news. Derrick Rose, still probable. Mike Conley is in. The former Celtic great Isaiah Thomas will make his debut this evening. There's no word if he's going. Yes.
Isaiah Thomas.
There's no word if Isaiah Thomas is going to be on a limit, but, he hasn't played basketball in quite a while, so I can't imagine he won't play more than a handful of minutes. Terry Rozier, Time Lord, Robert Williams, and Kyrie Irving all out in Boston. Dwayne Wade is ill. He's questionable. Tomas Satoransky still questionable. Tyler Johnson still questionable. And then DeMarcus Cousins is out, and Andre Iguodala also questionable for tonight. We have some big totals. I'm going to just exclude the lower.
Satoransky just ruled out, by the way.
So another game of Chase and Randall starting. Can't wait. Looking forward to Chase and Randall. All the shares over Bradley Beal. So it's just a couple of the big totals. The last 4 games of the night, Sacramento, Denver, 232. 7-point favorites for Denver at home. Houston, Minnesota, 232. Houston, 4-point favorites on the road. Golden State, Portland, 234.5. Golden State, 3-point favorites on the second night of a back-to-back on the road. And then Phoenix, Clippers, 232. So the last 4 games of the night are huge. And then, Brooklyn, Cleveland, 224.5. Brooklyn, 7.5-point favorites on the road. We have Washington, Toronto, up to 232. 9.5-point spread in favor of Toronto. And then Philly, New York, 222.5. Philly, 10-point favorites on the road. And then the other games are lower, and we could talk about them during the we break down, but we don't need to touch on all of them.
Yeah, I agree. You could probably play just the late slate tonight and put up like 400 points with those 230 game totals.
Yep, you probably can.
All right, before we jump it off here, we are crushing it. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm sure you have. As we lead into the All-Star break, we want you to get into the NBA DFS game and win your MLB leagues and DFS. We added the rest of the NBA season to the MLB package. How about that? You basically get the rest of the NBA and the MLB season in one package. With the MLB package, you get Jim Bowden's draft guide, the ultimate cheat sheet, complete in-season coverage, including League Sync, to help you win all your season leagues, plus complete DFS coverage with playbooks, rankings, optimal lineups, and over 30 tools, including a lineup generator that supports 6 different DFS sites. I didn't know there were 6 different DFS sites out there. Apparently there is. You want personal help? We got that too. You get experts in live chat, James and I, a day, 12 hours a day to help with all your personal questions about your draft, personal questions about your draft, and during the season. So be a 2-sport athlete. Get the MLB package for the rest of the NBA season for free. Go to fantasyalarm.com/MLB season now. At checkout, use my name as the promo code Impemba, IMPEMBA, for 25% off. You can also use James's last name, Grande. It's shorter, easier to spell. Go for it. Grande. I think I nailed that correctly.
Crush it.
Yep, 25% off there. So fantasyalarm.com/MLB season. Promo code Impemba or Grande for 25% off. Come win in the NBA to build your bankroll for the MLB season because pitchers and catchers reported today, James. So baseball's here.
It is here. Full-fledged. No, it's totally here. And Manny Machado and Bryce Harper confirmed not going to play baseball this year.
No. Maybe they sign a basketball contract.
Then we'd have to consider more 10K players, and I'm okay with that.
It's a good point. All right. we wasted enough time here. We got an 11-game slate to break down for you all. And it's an interesting one because not only is pretty much every player in the NBA in the player pool tonight, there's a lot of expensive options, a lot of pay-up spots here tonight to go to as well. We'll start off at the point guard position. Dame Lillard on FanDuel is 10-2. Steph Curry, 9,100. I know you love that matchup tonight between Golden State and Portland. Where are you going with it?
I'm not paying $10,000 for Damian Lillard on a slate like this. No chance. Maybe on a 3-game slate where like he's the only 10K player, but not on a slate like this. You could just save the $1,100 to Curry. I mean, I actually prefer the wing players for Golden State tonight than I do Curry, but I think Curry's fine. I think we should just go right down to Kyle Lowry and just because that's the play tonight. It's Kyle Lowry. It's anytime that Kawhi is out, you go to Kyle Lowry. I mean, we just saw him fall 2 rebounds shy of a triple-double the other night and I remember vividly you messaging me saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't have played Kyle Lowry. And then, anything shoot terribly, 3 for 13, and he still gets us 46 fantasy points, falling two rebounds shy of a triple-double. It's a no-brainer. You play him on all formats. Wizards are 28th against point guards. So, you can spend up on Curry, you can spend up on Lillard on DraftKings, it's fine. But you just go to Kyle Lowry in your cash games, even in your tournaments. Just move on from there.
Yeah, I feel almost the same exact way about Chris Paul tonight. Again, a guy that's played really well since coming back to their lineup. 4 straight games now of 40 fantasy points. He's got 11 steals over the last 4 games there as well. 230 game totals. We mentioned he and Harden playing really well together. He and Lowry, $82 and $8,000 on FanDuel. You can almost throw them both in your point guard position. Have a pretty safe set of point guards there with pretty high upside.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt Chris Paul has been pretty dominant, and he's just taking away from James Harden a little bit. I mean, 3 straight double-doubles, 1 assist shy of a triple-double against OKC, and you mentioned the steals, which have been great, 2, 2, and 5. That's a Chris Paul that we've known and loved. I guess if you had to only pick one for a cash game, who would you choose?
Yeah, I think Lowry's the play probably, just because of the usage he has without Leonard in the lineup, and Washington easy matchup for him there. But yeah, I mean, I really do like both. It really depends on your lineup builds. What's the price difference on DraftKings? Is it a large price difference?
300. Chris Paul's 300 more, 76 and 73.
Yeah, so maybe because we are trying to spend up at some other places, you go down and save the money on DraftKings. It's only $100 different on FanDuel, so it's really irrelevant in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Paul is definitely a great pivot off of Lowry. Everyone's going to play Lowry, so if you want to pivot, it's definitely Chris Paul.
De'Aaron Fox has been up and down for a while this season, but now he gets a matchup here against Denver. Going to get Jamal Murray for a little while, and maybe Isaiah Thomas for 10 minutes, maybe we'll say. And Isaiah Thomas is the worst defender in the NBA every time he steps on the floor. Any interest here in GPPs maybe for De'Aaron Fox? Again, another nice game total here. I
think I'd rather just play Chris Paul, or even if we found out Chris Dunn's ruled out, who I oversight. Mike Conley, I think, would be a nice pivot off of Chris Paul and Lowry as well if Dunn was ruled out. So I don't have much interest in Fox. I have interest in his counterpart, Jamal Murray. That's for sure. Okay. Denver in the biggest pace-up spot on the slate. And yes, Murray was bad last game. Still played 34 minutes, which is very nice because, we've seen Murray take hits in terms of minutes because they're deep when he's played bad. But the 2 games prior, 40, 42 fantasy points, huge pace-up spot, terrible defensive team in Sacramento. He's averaged 43 fantasy points in just 27 minutes against Sacramento this year. And the price tag, only $6,200 on DK, is just screams tournaments, screams it.
How are you figuring between the 2 Minnesota point guards that both are active tonight?
I like Teague's price a lot. I really hope to get Teague in my lineup, I think Andrew Wiggins would have to sit. I think Andrew Wiggins changes a lot on that Minnesota side for me personally. So I would really hope that he would sit. 5,800 and 6,100 for Teague on the 2 respective sites is too cheap. So I lean that way, especially they're going into the All-Star break. I don't think they need to force any Rose to play 30 minutes. I mean, he took 18 shots, was really good offensively the other night, but they still limited his minutes to 25. And that's kind of what I feel would be the case. Whereas Teague played one game and then came back and played 35 the next night. So, like, I feel better about Teague. I would feel better about the both of them if Wiggins sat.
Alrighty. Colin Sexton against Brooklyn, I think, is a play. The man is playing all of the minutes. I know he doesn't always flash a high ceiling, but I mean, he's 5,500 in FanDuel, played 38 minutes and had 20 actual points against the Knicks the other day. He's had 20 actual points now in 3 of the last 4. I think, the Cavs kind of know what they're doing now and just going to let him sort of develop. Again, if you're looking sort of a mid-tier range, I think Sexton, your boy Landry Shamet, I guess, is someone else we need to take a look at, and probably Pat Beverly again.
Yeah, I would probably go Sexton, Shamet, Beverly in that order based on upside and salary. I love Shamet's price on DK. He's only $4,000. On DK, he's shooting guard, small forward. So,
point guard only on.
Yeah, it's just they don't care about one another. I like Sexton tournaments only. I like Shamet tournaments only. I think they're all just tournament plays. There's really not a lot of like spend down cash plays. I even think you can throw Chase and Randall into a tournament. Do I like it? No, but I think you can. But I guess like the ultimate wild card of the night is your boy Brad Wanamaker. Like that's just it is what he is, the wild card of the night, because you mentioned it. He played 26 minutes against Brooklyn and he puts up 27 fantasy points. But we don't have a sample because he's the third string point guard. Like we don't know if he's going to play more than 15 minutes or if he's going to play 25. Yeah. Who knows? We don't.
He's had a couple runs this year of over 20 minutes played. 20 minutes against Cleveland, 19 fantasy points. 25 minutes against Brooklyn, 27 fantasy points. 21 minutes against Dallas, 24 fantasy points. He was actually a really good player over in the EuroLeague. Kind of came over here, tried to give himself a chance. Get a NBA career going. So I mean, I'm actually a little bit interested because I do think that there's a path to him playing 20-ish minutes off the bench for Boston tonight, and he's min price on FanDuel, $3,200 on DraftKings. For whatever reason, they had the foresight to not make him a min price player, despite playing 11 minutes total over the last 3 games. But whatever, that's fine. So yeah, I mean, I called him out that one day. When everybody's ruled out, we kind of laughed about it, and he had a good game. So I think Wanamaker is someone that should be considered, and we have him as the second highest projected player right now, according to our ownership projections. So definitely on FanDuel where you can punt a spot. Not a terrible place to punt a spot.
I'm honestly, based on the ownership, too, I'm not totally against him on DraftKings. I just think it's just a shot in the dark wild card type of.
Yep.
Because we just, again, like, we both suspect Marcus Smart is a starting point guard, not Wanamaker. So
yeah, it should be Smart. I would be surprised to see Wanamaker because I mean Smart's the starting point guard anyways. Like right. Kyrie plays shooting guard essentially. So I expect Wanamaker to be the guy off the bench there, but I still think we're going to see a larger role from him than usual. And if this game for whatever reason ends up maybe getting out of hand a little bit, Wanamaker is definitely a guy that's going to play. So in there, anybody else?
Yeah, we can go on a shooting guard.
All right, shooting guard, James Harden's at the top against Minnesota. Are you paying up for James Harden tonight?
No, but it's nice to see his price under $12K, so I think that's something to consider on DraftKings.
Yeah, he's finally under $13,000 on FanDuel, so hooray for that. Did go for 60 against Dallas the other day. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. I'm not really interested. I like a lot of short shooting guards, which has always been the case all season long. I don't know, that's why I always hated being handcuffed sort of to playing Harden, but you have Luka here against Miami, Brad Beal against Toronto, and we saw Beal go for, 60 plus, 62 against Detroit the other day. Randall is a terrible player, apparently. At least he looked pretty bad the other day. So counted that along with Kawhi being ruled out. Bradley Beal in a really good spot. I like D'Angelo Russell. Like I think you can go all the way down. Zach LaVine, as you talked about, this sort of second tier below Harden has a lot of good players in it.
Yeah, I think that's why ultimately, at least personally, for me, and it sounds like you as well, we're both fading Harden. Yep. Especially in a cash game. Bradley Beal is just a lock for me in cash. He's only $8,700, and I'm even willing to go as far to say he's a lock on FanDuel at $9,700 for cash games. Again, we mentioned it. There was it might have been skewed because he played 55 minutes, but in the last game against Toronto, he went for 90. He went for a triple double. So there's that. He's averaged 60 fantasy points over 3 games. I think LaVine is a play that you could honestly consider for all formats if Chris Dunn's ruled out. I think D'Angelo Russell is an elite tournament play. Imagine being the Lakers and giving up on that guy. Weird. I I don't think we need to play Jimmy Butler. I think Lou Williams for tournaments, CJ McCollum for tournaments. I have a lot of interest for Klay Thompson tonight. The Warriors are really good on back-to-backs this year. All of their guys are really good on back-to-backs. Clay's been no exception. He's been really good against Portland, 42 fantasy points, 26 actual points against Portland this year. And he comes in hot, 40 fantasy points over his last 5 games, 6,500. I think Clay's in play for all formats. I don't love the middle tier though, John. Middle tier and shooting guard, and it just is ugly. I like Clay up. And then there's like some value guys like Deion Waiters and Dwayne Wade. If Wade plays, can both be viable.
Yeah,
and again,
I have Waiters in my GPP lineups tonight. Yeah, I just like I like that he's in the starting lineup just in general. Like the minutes have been there for him. I love the 31, 41, 30 the last 3 games. He's a GPP only player, which you have to understand with him. But I think it's a good matchup against Dallas, and we mentioned. Bad defense travels. Tim Hardaway Jr. is over there shooting guard for them at minutes. So, I just think Wade and Waiters both in play. You mentioned I would like it more if Wade was out, but Wade's also sort of playing point guard-ish for them anyways. Like, they don't have a backup point guard anymore since trading Tyler Johnson. So, I think Waiters is safe in GPPs.
Yeah, I would really, really, really like him, I think, if Wade sat. Like, if Wade sat DraftKings, he's still so cheap. Deion Waiters on DraftKings is $4,300.
Yeah.
And I don't love that game. Like, it's kind of one of those games where I'm just kind of, 11-game slate. We don't need to play it. But at $4,300, it'd be hard to pass up.
What do you think about Jordan Clarkson?
He's fine for tournaments. I think he's a little too pricey for my blood, at least on FanDuel. But $5,300 on DK is a good price. I mean, he's going to draw like D'Angelo Russell defense at times, and Alan Crabb, who is focused on shooting, who also is another, I think, very sneaky value on this slate tonight. Alan Crabb. Yeah,
Crabb's coming back. Karis LeVert's on a minute restriction. We did get bumped up to 22 minutes the other day. Chris Dunn is officially ruled out. Ryan Arcidiacono starting in his stead tonight. I don't know if that moves the needle for Arcidiacono at all, but we know it definitely bumps your likeness for Levine and Markkanen tonight.
I think it does move the needle for Arcidiacono because we saw on many occasions this year, yes, different team. Lauri Markkanen wasn't this version of Lauri Markkanen, and Zach LaVine was in and out of the lineup at the time, but I do like Ryan Arcidiacono quite a bit for value. We know what we're going to get out of him more than we know what we're going to get out of Wanamaker. Fair to say? Like, we've seen Arcidiacono in longer stretches than we've seen Wanamaker. So, like, I guess the way I would break it down is Arcidiacono safer for cash and Wanamaker better GPP play.
Okay, I can live with that. Back to shooting guard real quick again. I mentioned LeVert. Any interest in him even at a minutes limit?
I would rather take a shot on Alan Crabb at $3,700. Who's played really well the last 2 games. They signed him to that big deal, so like they're going to play him. And they are officially lifted his minutes limit. He's played 31 minutes in his last games, and only his 3rd game back. 19 and 22 actual points his last 2 games. So I think Alan Crabb's sneaky tournament play that probably won't get much love tonight.
And the last guy I'm going to ask you about a shooting guard is, are we chasing Avery Bradley points? Went for 50 last night, a career high 33 actual points. Took like all of the shots for Memphis. He was a good offensive player for Boston. He, for whatever reason, he didn't fit in Detroit. Didn't really fit in, the Clippers. Maybe because they had better offensive options out there. I don't know. Do you think maybe a change to Memphis is going to allow Bradley to be more of an offensive player moving forward?
I hope somebody listened last night, by the way, when we were talking about him.
We did, right?
I hope somebody took that advice because he was only 1% owned. I'm not chasing it, but I get why you would. He's so cheap. And if he's going to take... someone on Memphis has to shoot. I know Conley's back, but like he's the only person going to shoot. I still think Jonas Valanciunas is going to get rolled out. I'm still sticking to that. And if he's not going to be there to shoot, then they really have a hole because then who's shooting the basketball? So I think Bradley's a decent play.
Okay. Anybody else?
No, we can go to small forward.
All right, small forward. Giannis Durant is at the top here. Giannis 11-9 on FanDuel. Durant's 9-9. We know Portland struggles against small forwards. We just saw Paul George just tear them apart a couple games ago. Durant's pretty much done the same thing against them this season. Are you in on Durant over Giannis? Do you still think Giannis versus Indiana is the better play?
So I don't love the matchup, but I think at this point in the year, we're just going to label like Giannis and guys like that matchup proof. 67 his last game, 59, 62, 67. Those are his last 4 fantasy outings. So, like, do I think he's the best play on the slate? Yes. But Kevin Durant for $2,000 cheaper against a Portland team that ranks 25th against small forwards, a guy who's averaging 54 fantasy points against Portland, a guy who averages 28, 7, and 7 on back-to-backs. Last night I told you I thought I like Curry more than Durant. Yeah. Tonight I like Durant more than I like Curry, and I think Durant's my top small forward. I'm playing him in all formats tonight.
Nice. I agree with you. I just love the matchup. Again, Portland against teams against Portland small forwards is just a thing we've been attacking all season long. Next tier below, Otto Porter, Kelly Oubre, Danilo Gallinari, Trevor Ariza, Josh Richardson. Even you can throw in that mix. How do you feel about this range of players here in that like 6 to 7K area on FanDuel?
I don't love Gallinari tonight. I know you and I are generally like cash game. I know the matchup is great, but like something looks off with him. 2 for 10 in an exploitable matchup against Minnesota. I don't know. I don't love Gallinari tonight. I'd rather take my shots on the other guys. I think they're all kind of tournament plays. I think Ariza is more of a cash, can be played in all formats, considering no Kawhi. We don't have to deal with that. Considering he's going to play 100,000 minutes. I think Otto Porter, at least on DraftKings, he's too pricey on FanDuel, but now no Chris Dunn. There's more shots to go around. There's more peripheral stats to go around. I think Otto Porter, 5,600 is a really good price. But, I mean, Gordon Hayward is in every one of my lineups tonight. So, ultimately, you could play any of those guys that you mentioned, but ultimately, I think Gordon Hayward is the guy. He's kind of been the guy 3 of the last 4 games for Boston.
Yeah.
And now we don't have 2 primary ball handlers, and their on-floor general might be limited in Al Horford. So it's like all of the offense is running through Gordon Hayward tonight. But it just is. He's going to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 4,800. Like we got $100 price boom. 5,300 on FanDuel is too cheap. You just play him in all formats tonight.
I agree. Andrew Wiggins just officially ruled out for tonight. Luol Deng started the other day. He's only 4,100 on FanDuel. He put up 30 fantasy points in that start playing 30 minutes. Are you interested in what is apparently the zombie-like Luol Deng risen from the dead here tonight in this matchup against Houston?
Yeah, I mean, like just more value that we'd have to put up with on 11-game slate. But I think it's good value. I think he avoids PJ Tucker, who probably guards Sarge, because Sarge is the more he's just a better offensive player at this stage in his career. So who's Deng going to get? Eric Gordon, maybe James Harden at times. I think Deng could present some problems for both those guys. I mean, he was a really good player at one point, and he just kind of fell off the map. And now that he's getting a chance, I mean, 31, 37 minutes the last 2 games, I'm not against it. I am on the fence about cash games. I think if you have $4,100, you can play him in cash. But I would lean tournaments and then like secondary cash game play.
With Wiggins ruled out, thoughts? I'll go back a little bit on Rose and Teague. They get a big boost for you. Obviously, Wiggins was ruled out the other day, and they both had really big games in that matchup against the Clippers.
Teague, all formats. I think he's really a really solid player for all formats. And then Rose, I still don't think they're going to like unleash him. I still think it's going to be like 25, 26, 27 minutes, tournaments only. But they're both very strong plays. I love Teague's price tag tonight, man. I really do. I think that's a really good price tag. I know Chris Paul could be a good defender, but they're actually like 24th in efficiency against point guards this year. So, I do think Teague is an elite play all formats.
A couple of lone names at small forward I'll throw out there before we move. I think Will Barton against Sacramento and GVP's works. I've been playing a lot of Michael Bridges lately. Mikal Bridges, I think maybe is how you pronounce that first name better. We talk about you need to get the steals from him. He's getting the steals pretty much every single game. He's filling up the stat sheet. I watched him the other day. I actually watched that game against Golden State. It's a little bit frustrating that he is definitely the stand in the corner, play defense guy. The offense does not go to him at all. So that's why his scoring is so hit or miss at times. But when he scores, he puts up huge numbers. But like we saw against Sacramento, 9.6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals got you 30, 5.5K. That's over 5x return. I think Bridges is actually a pretty safe play here against the Clippers tonight.
Yeah, I would play him in all formats at that price tag, 4,800, and he's just over 5K on FanDuel. And as long as he keeps getting the steals, 3 steals, 9 points. If he gets us 10 actual points, right, we're in the driver's seat. So, I think Bridges is fine for all formats.
Last guy I'll throw out there is Jabari Parker after he burned the world against Detroit. 0 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists in 19 minutes, following up the back-to-back 40 fantasy point outings. Thoughts on Parker here?
11 game slate, I'm not going to do it. I get it, but I know, again, 11 games. There's a lot of value on the board that I don't think we need to venture down that path.
Fair enough. All right, power forward at the top, Blake Griffin, Lauri Markkanen. Without Dunn, are you in on Markkanen a little bit more than?
I didn't mean to cut you off, but he's been great with Dunn. So without him, and doesn't feel like a Blake night. I don't know about you, but it doesn't feel like a Blake night to me.
No, I think this is a Drummond night. We'll talk about that at center when he gets there. So I'm in on you. I'm saving the money down from Blake. I'll play for Markkanen. That's fine. Larry Nance is in all my lineups tonight. No Kevin Love. I know Zizic is active, but Nance has just been a monster. He gets that matchup against the Brooklyn Nets, which we absolutely love for guys who play center. I know he kind of rotates around center to power forward, but hard to look at what he's been doing lately and think he can't do this against the Nets. So I'm in on Nance in all my lineups and all formats.
Yeah, I don't know who's gonna, start at center. And who I don't think have the Cavs officially released their lineup. I don't think so.
I haven't seen it, no.
So, we attack Brooklyn at the center position. It's either going to be Marquise Chris or it's going to be Larry Nance. And more often than not, it's probably going to be Larry Nance. So, centers against Brooklyn, Larry Nance, because they play Seti at power forward. So, that means more Larry Nance at center, which means
Seti's limited tonight too. He's on a minutes limit, so it's just
So give me all the Larry Nance. I'm in total agreement with you.
Yep. Let's see. No, not a lineup. More powerful. Jason Tatum. I shot you that text message earlier today. With Rozier and with Irving off the floor this year, 34% usage rate, averaging 1.45 fantasy points per minute on the year. Tatum is 40-plus fantasy point games over his last 4 games. He's really clicking right now. Double-doubles in 2 of them. He's going to have a little bit of a tough matchup here, but still, the way Tatum's rolling right now and given the circumstances, even the fact that Horford can be limited, more offense should even go through him as well. Him and Hayward, as you mentioned, are clearly the top 2 Celtics owned tonight.
Yeah, and I think I'm fine with Tatum for all formats, too. I think you can legitimately make a case for about 6 Celtics in cash games.
Yeah, we have Marcus Morris projected to be currently the highest owned player with the recent update that we did over at Fantasy Alarm. So, Marcus Morris coming off a pretty decent game. You also get that little bit of a revenge narrative. Detroit did trade Morris to the Celtics. Again, he's only $5,100 on FanDuel. They never bump up his price tag regardless of how good he is. So, I also think that he could be a guy to look at for Boston as well.
Yeah, again, like we were talking earlier today, he closed for the Celtics yesterday. He was in and out playing. He was playing offense for them at least. They
don't take him off defensively. He's a really good defender.
Either way, he was in the game at the end. He didn't get a price bump after going 17-8. It's just such a steady play. It's a tough matchup, but it's not like he can't take Blake out to the perimeter. It's not like he won't be in the paint grabbing all the rebounds because that's where Blake and Drummond are going to lie. So I think Marcus Morris is fine for all formats too.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we go a little bit further up. I know we jumped down to Morris, but there's still some mid-tier guys. I think with no Cousins, I like Draymond Green here. I think with no Kawhi, we can go Ibaka and Siakam. We know Ibaka is expected to start again. I like Josh Jackson. I know you weren't as high on him when I kind of talked about him a little bit off air. Are you just not interested in Jackson with Booker back, or is there a reason why you're not in on him tonight?
No, I mean I like Josh Jackson more on DraftKings than I do on
Okay.
FanDuel, where he's way too pricey for my blood. I would rather just play Siakam or Ibaka.
Okay.
But I don't hate Jackson in tournaments. I mean, he's just a volume guy. So I mean, if his shots fall, he can go for 50. If they don't, he's pretty much given us a 30-point floor. So I don't hate him.
Okay.
I prefer going up to Siakam Ibaka. I think that's kind of and Tatum for at 6'1". Like that's kind of where
True.
my interest lies.
Any interest in Bobby Portis?
Tournaments only, but sure, you can throw him in there. Not starting again, but fine.
Saric probably starting again. They kind of made out saying that he's going to be in their starting lineup, expected to continue to start at power forward. Gone for 30 plus in 3 of the last 4. $5,100 over on FanDuel is still a really good price. On DraftKings, I believe he's cheaper, right? He's $4,600 on DraftKings. Yep. So again, cheap way to get exposure to that 230 game total. I took a shot in the dark with Saric the other day. That paid off. I think we can continue to go back to that well.
Yeah, the one downfall with Saric is that he's going to probably draw PJ Tucker defense, but 4,600. He's been really good in 3 of his last 4, so I think he's fine.
Yeah, fair enough. Any other power forwards? Anybody spending down? Are you still chasing the Marquise Chris dream?
He's going to play 22 to 23 minutes, but I just maybe because Seti Osman's back as well, not just Zizic. So it's a really deep dive. It's a really deep dive tournament thing. Again, 11 games late. I don't really think we need to go there.
Fair enough. Let's jump over to center, and it kind of meets a question that we have over in our chat. Someone's asking me. I'm guessing this is probably for a utility spot. Durant, Towns, or Drummond. Since 2 of those guys are centers, we'll just touch upon it now. How would you go with those 3? And what's your take here or the center position? I'm all in on Drummond tonight. He's been crushing it anyways. But now he has a really good match against Boston. Would have possibly limited Al Horford.
Dwayne Wade will play, by the way.
I see that. Yeah, that's okay. I still like Waiters. He's playing 30 minutes regardless.
Yeah, he's playing 30 minutes regardless. Just interesting to note. I think Durant is the safest of the 3. I really do. I mentioned how I think I was kind of waiting on that Wiggins news to make my final decision on Minnesota because there's so many players on that team. Wiggins, Towns, Rose, Teague, who all could take 15 plus shots at any night. And we've seen Towns be very passive in previous times with Jimmy Butler on the floor, with Rose on the floor. So with Wiggins out, I think there's enough shots to go around Karl-Anthony Towns. But I'm totally with you, Andre Drummond. I'm prioritizing over both of them for tournaments. I even think I think you could probably play them all in cash. I think Durant is the safest of the 3, but Drummond is probably the tournament guy for me of the 3.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to play Drummond the other day, and the Millsap news sort of broke, so I pivoted off of him, played Blake, and Drummond went for 67 and 66 in back-to-back games against New York and Washington. He's gone now for 50 plus in 6 of the last 8. Gets his matchup here against Boston, where he always has success against the Celtics. Anyways, they're not a good rebounding team. Drummond just absolutely owns the paint. He's got the huge size advantage over Horford. More of a physical player too. Embiid's, Horford has success against Embiid a lot of times, but Embiid is a little more of a finesse center, even though with his size. Drummond is a bully. He gets in the paint, he'll dunk on you, gets on the glass. Plays a heavy center game, and now knowing that could be a reason why they have Horford limited tonight. He just played a big game against Embiid last night. Give him 25 minutes tonight, which means Daniel Tice is the only other center we have on the roster right now. He's an undersized big man. He stretches the floor a little bit. Drummond should do whatever he wants tonight. For me, he's my top center play. I have him in my lineups tonight. I'm just committing to playing him after saying I'm going to play him and then pivoting off of him and wishing I didn't.
Do you not like Embiid at all?
I mean, it's in Madison Square Garden, so
And did you hear what he said last night?
Yeah, I watched the whole game, of course.
That's what I'm really hanging on to. There's something that when Joel Embiid speaks and says certain things makes me want to play him. Telling me that he sleptwalked through 3 quarters literally tells me he's going to annihilate people tonight or get thrown out of the game. Yeah. I don't know what, because he's going to punch a referee, but he's either going to punch a referee or he's going to annihilate the Knicks in the first 4 seconds of the game, and we're going to be like, oh shit, we should have played Joel Embiid.
Yeah, so I think that will happen, but if that happens, we are talking about Philadelphia versus the Knicks, and that means that game could be over three quarters. And you talk a lot about how they have like weird substitutions with him too, don't they? Where they like
he comes out really early.
Yeah, so like they can bring him back in the second quarter, the end of the first, and now they're up 15-18 already. By halftime, they're up 40, and we get 2.5 quarters out of Embiid. So I worry a little bit about that. Obviously, that's like complete worst case scenario. But I mean, we talk about it a lot. Stars in Madison Square Garden tend to shine, and Embiid in New York definitely fits that bill. But I'm going to take the savings. It's only $800 on FanDuel, but I'm still going to take the savings and play Drummond. I just think this is a spot that we really can't miss, I don't think.
Okay, I'm down. I mean, I'm with you, and I do like the savings on both sites. To be perfectly honest with you, going to Drummond, I just think there is merit to when Joel Embiid speaks and says stuff like that. That like we need to be like, all right, maybe we should have shares somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, totally. If you're making multiple lineups, it's always a good idea to get the elite players in there, right? Like it's a scenario where like we're never not going to tell you to play these type of players. I just feel like on certain nights there are better matchups. Tonight I feel that way in Drummond, but I mean we didn't even talk about Jokic, who's crushed Sacramento this year in limited minutes whenever he's been on the floor. Again, you can throw him in there. We're not going to yell at you. Do what you want. You got Nurkic, without Cousins playing tonight. I mean, like this could be your last chance to maybe get 30 minutes out of him now that Enes Kanter's rolling to town to steal their playing time. So you can look at him in GPPs and get exposure to that really, high game total there. I like Ayton against the Clippers tonight. I think that's a good matchup for him. So I do think there's other centers that we can look at. Maybe Marcus Gasol starts tonight with no Kawhi. Then you're going to love Marcus Gasol at 7K. I mean, there's definitely pivots down if you want to go mid-tier, that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think they're all valid pivots. I would have a lot of interest in Gasol, like you said, at 7K if because we know Washington's the worst rebounding team in basketball. Like they've just been terrible all year. I think Whiteside for tournaments is interesting because Dallas has been the second worst rebounding team since they traded DeAndre Jordan. Dwight Powell now center eligible. On the flip side, I think he could, give Whiteside some fits offensively. Valanciunas, I still think he sits. If he doesn't, I think he's fine for tournaments. And then everyone's going to play Kevin Looney tonight. And I'm right there with you guys. I'm playing Kevin Looney as well.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what Looney did earlier this year when Cousins wasn't in the lineup. So, I mean, it's hard to ignore, the potential for him at that price. I do worry, I guess, a little bit because, I mean, it is Kevin Looney we're talking about. It's not like he's, and this is a Warriors team that could also just go to Draymond at center if they really wanted to go in that direction. So I don't disagree. He's in GVP is probably only for me though. Also, just
I'd play Kevin Looney in all formats.
You think so?
Yeah, he's a cheap way to get exposure to that late night hammer. We've seen him be really productive and really active, and I don't know. He's just cheap, and we need 20 fantasy points basically to get value, which he's averaged on the year. I don't think that's out of the reach.
Okay.
So.
Just some GVP options that we're waiting on. Obviously, I still think Mitchell Robinson's a guy that's always in play. He is 5K on FanDuel, so again, they keep pricing him up. But now we got like pretty much 4 straight games of 30 fantasy point production out of him at a pretty decent cost. He's not going to play a bunch of minutes, but maybe he gets some minutes when like Embiid's off the floor, and that could definitely benefit him. And then did you mention Valanciunas already?
Yes, I did.
All right, so that would be the only other guy I'd probably have interest in here tonight. Any other final thoughts on this 11 gamer?
If you can predict Robin Lopez playing 32 minutes again, be my guess. But I think that was to show his brother who's the better Lopez. So
Caris LeVert's in the starting lineup tonight.
Over Graham, I assume.
Yeah, Russell and LeVert are the starting backcourt.
I just, if it was a 4-game slate or a 5-game slate or tomorrow's 3-game slate, I would have more interest. But just the fact that...
Does this downgrade D'Angelo Russell for you at all?
Slightly. But I think if you do have Russell, I told you before we got on there, a nice pivot off Russell is just to go right down to Zach LaVine or Klay Thompson or someone in that range. So I don't think it's like, Oh man, I think there's very nice pivots to go down to anyways.
All right. That wraps up the live stream, guys. James and I are in chat. Roster lock at 7 o'clock tonight. So we'll be in there leading you up. Any more news breaks, we'll be there for you, giving you lineup pivots and whatnot. So get your questions in, and let's win some money.
Later, guys.